So when we have photos or video of the unexplained surface online, the majority of people believe it to be fake right off the bat. And then they set out to prove just that. Now, don't get me wrong, we should be skeptical of the unexplained. We should be skeptical of the supernatural, paranormal, cryptozoological. Of course, we should be skeptical. We should also be aware of what our skepticism could be masking. When you set out to prove something is a fake, and you believe that it's fake, you will very likely cling to evidence that supports your belief and discard what does not. I think that's what happened with this picture. I didn't believe the image was fake and then set out to prove that it was fake. I didn't know about the image, but I knew the creature was real because I've seen one. That's why I started looking into it. I've attempted to have a couple of conversations online concerning this photo and the reasons that I don't believe it's fake. And people get really mad. It quickly devolves into all-out hostility because they are convinced that this was debunked. They know for a fact. And attempting to reason, no matter how respectfully, just doesn't seem to work. I think we can become super invested in our beliefs without really even understanding why. Even though I consider myself to be really open-minded, I know that I have been and probably will again be guilty of this. It's cognitive bias. None of us are immune. Before I lay out my case for this image, let me just say real quick that if you're so certain that the image was definitively debunked, please withhold your comment until you hear me out. After you've heard everything I have to say, you are welcome to tell me the reasons that I'm wrong. I welcome that. But no premature release in the comment section, please. There's a good number of YouTube videos that claim to have the final answer concerning this photo, like this one.
Exclusive details of how we proved El Rake is a fako. Thanks to my research team, the Chewy Piranhas, and specifically researcher Shelby Leon, we learned the Rake came into being on an internet platform called 4chan in 2005. It was here that one post suggested the group come up with a new monster, and it grew from there. Then there was this, the picture that came to represent the Rake. It was first seen on a television news station. Now, the next time you think something is real just because it was on the news, remember this. This picture that the guy sent into the news originally came from a first-person shooter game called Resistance 3. In the game, the creature is called Grim, but a guy named Hillbilly Willie did some Photoshop manipulation of Grim and then presented it on a hunting forum like this. He said it was a creature accidentally captured by his trail camera. Now, not long after that, people began to post the picture as the Rake, and over time, people forgot about the original hunting picture.
The reason everyone believes that Insomniac Games is responsible for this trail cam image is because of this tweet, where they seem to take responsibility for it. But what everyone literally ignored was this follow-up tweet. This image did not originate from a video game. The company was just riding the coattails of the latest viral meme. Okay, so Hillbilly Willie, that part is actually accurate. Hillbilly Willie is the source of the trail cam photo. But this guy in this picture is not Hillbilly Willie. I took a screenshot and cropped this image out. Then I did a reverse image search and it linked back to a stock photo site with a category called Photos of Rednecks. So who is Hillbilly Willie? According to a Daily Mail article, Hillbilly Willie uploaded the trail cam photo to the Wildgame Innovations website. Wildgame Innovations is the company that made the trail camera that captured the trail cam image of the creature. So it was suggested that the entire thing was a marketing stunt, that Wildgame was responsible for the image. I just called them up and I asked, and they were even nice enough to return my phone call.
Miss Missy, This is in response to your question about the trail cam photo. Here at Wildgame, we're in the business of assisting hunters in the woods. It does not serve us in any way to scare them out of the woods. So the answer to your question is no. Other than the fact that the photograph was captured by one of our trail cams, we are in no way associated with the creation or distribution of this image.
Now, believe it or not, the Daily Mail got it twisted. The photo was not uploaded to the Wildgame Innovations website. It was uploaded to a hunting forum called Archery Talks. And what ensued was a comment thread that includes 700 pages of replies. And I read every last one of them. And it was exhausting. And it was annoying how many of the members responded claiming that the image of the creature was just their mother-in-law or their ex-wife. I imagine these are the same guys from high school that would ring up your residence to inquire as to whether or not your refrigerator was running. Willie replied a few times to answer questions and even uploaded more photos from the same camera, but he never, not even once, said that the image was fake or that he was kidding. And he didn't really strike me as the type who would be particularly skilled or even familiar with Photoshop. So one exchange that I found really interesting was when this guy called Willie out and he's like, "You're a fraud. You're a straight up fraud. You've uploaded this to another forum with a completely different story." But Willie replied and said that he wasn't a member of any other forum. And he let the guy know that he was aware that people had been posting the picture and pretending to be him. And there was even one instance where someone posed as him for a phone interview and, get this, claimed they were a Photoshop expert. Now, why anyone would do that? I mean, you tell me. The majority of the articles online that were published shortly after the image surfaced all linked back to this blogger, and they claimed this blogger settled the matter once and for all. So I'm going to list all of the points this blogger made, and then I'll go back through and give my thoughts on each point. I've already mentioned that Willie uploaded other photos taken by the same trail camera as reference photos, I guess. And the first point made by this blogger, when comparing the image of the creature to another image from that trail cam, which was of a deer. In those images, you can see this little tree towards the left right here. And there was a 9-day gap between one photo and the next. And this blogger believes that there's no way, considering the time of year, which would have been November, that a tree could hold onto its leaves for 9 days without losing a single leaf. There's a halo around the creature's head, and this is indicative of a blend job in Photoshop. In the image of the deer, you don't see that. After the photo was run through a file decoder program called jpeg Snoop, the result stated that the image was photoshopped. Point number 1, the leaves. They haven't changed. My friend Audrey is a botanist by day and a badass by night. So I sent her a picture with just that plant cropped out, and I asked her if she could identify it. And the picture's grainy and it's kind of difficult to see, but she said if she had to guess, she would say that it was a plant called sassafras. Then I asked her if it was possible for that plant in similar species to hold on to its leaves over a period of 9 days during the fall when a tree is supposed to be shedding its leaves. And of course it is. In this instance, the time of year is less important than the climate. Some species will hold on to their leaves all the way through winter and into the following spring. This image was captured in Louisiana. It's the deep south, and winters are pretty mild. Point number 2, the halo. The blend tool in Photoshop doesn't cause this. These are some images I've edited using that exact tool, and not one of them has any kind of halo or darkened area or motion blur. That's what I believe this is, a motion blur in this picture of the creature. And you can see it in the image of the deer, but it's right there under the chin. Point 3. JPEG Snoop says photoshopped. Now this would probably be what the blogger considered his smoking gun. The result says that digital analysis detected compression rates that are similar to compression rates found in photoshopped images. But the result did not state where in the image the compression rate anomalies were detected. Visual analysis of digital squares on and around the creature is consistent. The only inconsistencies I can see are in the area where you see this Wildgame logo. Just so I could be certain that I was right and that the JPEG Snoop program was detecting the compression rate anomalies due to the Wildgame logo, I ran the photo through the photo forensics site using error level analysis. Before I go any further, a quick disclaimer. While I did spend a significant amount of time on the tutorials on the photo forensics website, I am not an expert. So if anyone knows more than I do about this subject, please feel free to chime in. Just don't be an asshat about it. Okay, so error level analysis is capable of detecting compression rate anomalies in a JPEG image. And you can run an image through error level analysis on the photo forensics website. If you're dealing with a JPEG image, the entire image should be at roughly the same error level. And if there are significant differences, it's likely the photo contains some digital modifications. So I ran this picture through their error level analysis, and these were the results. And as you can see, it's consistent throughout until you get to the Wildgame logo. Error level analysis just confirmed my original assertion that the compression rate anomaly picked up by the JPEG Snoop software was from the Wildgame logo. Here's where things start to get really interesting. The mechanism that causes an animal's eyes to reflect your headlights or glow is called a tapetum lucidum. Animals equipped with this feature have the ability to see in the dark. I ran a high-pass filter over the area around the creature's face. Sometimes this can bring out hidden details, and this was the result. I think that this suggests actual physiological variation, as there's an obvious distinction between an iris and a sclera. The last point I want to cover is related to the discrepancy concerning the dates. The photo that appeared in the news broadcast is dated December 4th, 2010. The photo that Hillbilly Willie uploaded is dated 11/30/2010. I got on LinkedIn and I searched for people who worked at Channel 4 Baton Rouge from the end of 2010 on, and I messaged every last one of them. I got 2 replies. The first one told me the name of the woman who covered the story. It's Emily. But it was the second reply that had some really interesting information. They said that people send in crazy pictures and stories to the news all the time, that's normal. And for the most part, they ignore it. But this image was sent in by someone whose email address gave them reason to believe that this was a credible person. It wasn't from gmail.com or yahoo.com. It was from .mil. And that's the main reason they aired it, because of the credibility they assigned to the sender due to the last 3 letters of that email address. We know this is not the original photo if Willie uploads it on December 2nd. The news airs it sometime after, but the date for the photo aired on the news is December 4th. So what's up with the inconsistencies? First, I want to make sure you understand a couple of terms. Misinformation versus disinformation. Both mislead, but the key difference is the intent of the person sharing the information. Misinformation is spread unknowingly. The person sharing falsehoods has no idea that they're not sharing truthful information. But disinformation is deliberate. It's often a tactic used to discredit either a person or discredit information. And seemingly small details are altered that can call the credibility of the entire story into question. Now, regardless of what you think about the discrepancy between the two dates, someone went to a decent amount of trouble to change that before they sent it in to Channel 4 News. Yeah, so that's all I've got for now anyway. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I was going to say.